So we're live on Facebook and we're ready to begin. So welcome again to our webinar series. We have Dr. Safeeya Mohammed with us today. She is the CEO of SISU Global Wellness. Dr. Safeeya has been all over the world, right? So she doesn't just focus on her own health and wellness, but also the health and wellness of many others. You know, she has done a lot of work with the UN. She's been to India, and she has been even locally. If you're tuning into the TBC radio network, all 6 of them, Dr. Safeeya is there every afternoon. She is doing a lot in terms of resilience and so on. And you know, she's really good in her field. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from her. So without further ado, Dr. Safeeya.
So good afternoon, every single one who subscribed to this program. This has been in discussions for probably about a month or more than that. And then unfortunately, COVID came into our lives and literally created a storm that we needed to figure out how to navigate. And the one thing that I've found that connects us throughout, not just Trinidad, we're in conversation with persons in, as he shared, in India, in New York, in Finland, in New Zealand in particular, is that we're all sharing the same difficulties, the same adversities, and we're all trying to come up with solutions. So thank you, first of all, to YBTT for providing this forum. And giving me this opportunity to share with each one of you all the opportunity to learn a little bit about creating resilience. And at the end, Jonathan may have forgotten to mention, we're going to do a little exercise. This is more than just a talk. This is going to be equipping you with a tool, with a mindfulness tool, where we would encourage everyone to jump on the screen with us at the end and do a mindfulness session. And then after the presentation, I'll take the questions and answers. On your screen there, you see a couple of logos. This one is the one that represents my company, SISU Global Wellness. And if you've never heard of the word before, at the end of this, you'll pretty much get familiar with it. And these are just some of the places that I've done training at. The most formidable of them was the International Visitor Leadership Program with US Embassy. Followed on to John Maxwell Leadership Certification, and then a number of leadership training at something called UNITAR, which is United Nations Institute for Training and Research. That pretty much gives you a few of the roles that I somehow find the capacity to serve at beside my company. I've had the lovely opportunity of leading our particular panel from Trinidad to United Nations in 2018 and 2019, and sadly my 2020 panel got cancelled because of COVID. It was scheduled for March, but I've had the opportunity to engage in resilience training through United Nations Women, their foundations program, which deals with gender-based violence and high-risk, high-trauma individuals. There more than ever is where we need resilience. I serve as the chair to the Gender Advisory Board at UE, the outreach chair to the Medical Association, and one of the other altruistic roles is ambassador to Habitat for Humanity. So not only do I, as Jonathan would share, try to find and build capacity within just organizations and individuals, but within our CSO community. So that's a little bit of my superpower. I want to ask you all throughout this entire presentation to focus on what you think, if you had a superpower, what it would be. I'm throwing these pictures up on the screen. I wish I was present there, and I would then ask how many of you all feel like this right now. Some of us are trying to navigate through the digital spheres and getting a host of problems. The top pictures is a few from our medical fraternity, and believe me, we have a lot of distresses and challenges there. And then of course the researchers. And most, I believe, this audience is entrepreneurs. So I hope this picture resonates with just about all, if not every single one of you all. How about this one? You're joining into your Zoom meetings. Hopefully, if there are actual meetings, there's a little bit of physical distancing in there and not this close. And at the end of the meeting, there's so many ideas and so many things to be considered. However, it just feels so overwhelming, frustrated because there's so little time and so much to get done. And these pictures on the screen is purposefully added just to remind us all that Trinidad has been through adversity before. Very in our recent minds is the floods of last year and 2017. And we played a significant role with Habitat for Humanity in trying to provide relief. Now, COVID has not affected us the way floods have affected us. But because COVID has literally locked us down into homes, it has affected us in different ways. And this is why we're going to explore resilience, because it has affected us more so in our mental inhibitions. Adding into this particular picture with Guardian, this front page was just 2 months ago. We've been having cases of abuse, special needs, being beaten, suicide, depression, and that's 2 months ago before COVID. We pretty much are expecting that COVID is going to exacerbate these conditions. Just 2 months ago, these things are happening. What we're experiencing right now is it's just the ice tip of the entire iceberg, literally. And I think this is why this particular session not just for yourselves, but for your families. Everyone, though your mics are muted, to take a read of your right. I want everyone, though your mics are muted, to take a read of your screen. This was a poem that I found that I think echoes how we feel right now. Today was the absolute worst day ever. And don't try to convince me there's something good in every day. Because when you take a closer look, the world is a pretty evil place. Even if some goodness does shine through once in a while, satisfaction and happiness don't last. And it's not true that it's all in the mind and heart, because true happiness can be obtained only if one's surroundings are good. It's not true that good exists. And I'm sure you can agree, the reality creates my attitude. It's all beyond my control. And you'll never in a million years hear me say today was a good day. Now, I wish I could see your faces. I'm sure there are probably a number of puzzled faces, or there are a number of faces that are shaking their heads agreeing. Because as each day progresses with COVID, more and more persons are saying this is just getting even worse, especially the economic situation we're in. But I want to indulge you a little bit and spin this around, and I'm going to read it, and I want you to read it with me, but very quick, with your muted mics, starting from the bottom. Today was a good day, and you'll never in a million years hear me say that it's all beyond my control. My attitude creates the reality. And I'm sure you can agree that it's not true that good exists, only if one's surroundings are good. True happiness can be obtained because it's all in the mind and heart. And it's not true that satisfaction and happiness don't last. Some goodness does shine through once in a while, even if this world is a pretty evil place. Because when you take a closer look, there's something good in every day. And don't try to convince me today was the absolute worst day ever. So while we may be feeling and acknowledging that COVID has brought us so many admissions, so much death, so much disharmony, so much adversity, I want us to be able to pause and find goodness in this adversity. And that's what resilience really is. We're in a storm. It's interesting that, as I said, that the rains are coming down really heavily here, and I'm up in the mountains. we're in a storm, and we all need different tools to be able to navigate the storm. The picture that I shared before was a Guardian front page. I want to share a different Guardian front, a different page now. This is from an Express interview, and this was actually almost 10 years ago. I know the rain may be coming in as a little noise. I hope it's not affecting the background. This article was almost 10 years ago. And COVID is now going to change how we as doctors will do outreach, how we as doctors can make a difference, and how you as an individual can contribute to your society and make a difference. Not just for your life, but for that of another person. Johnson shared in the earlies that I had the opportunity of speaking at United Nations. This is again just a couple of the articles of different aspects where I had the opportunity to share with United Nations, the US Embassy, and different organizations and associations, particularly CSOs. The most influential of them, like I said, was speaking at United Nations. These experiences is ones that shaped my life and shaped the formation of the company SISU Global Wellness. Here you will see, this is where I did most of my training recently at United Nations Institute for Training and Research. And in the past 3 years, this program started in 2018. But in 2017 is when we really started discussing resilience in terms of developing resilience as an organization, as a nation. I'm sure some of you all will be familiar with this particular person, Malala. She is one that emulates resilience in every possible way. For those who are not familiar with who Malala is, she is now she's at Oxford University in her 20s, but in her teens, she was shot in the head and was in ICU for a long time. We had the opportunity of hosting her here in Trinidad, and I had the opportunity of being her personal physician. And spending that 1 week alone with Malala, I think I learned more about resilience than I learned even at any of the academic institutions. And it's important for us to find persons to emulate right now, understanding that we are not alone in these adversities. I purposely included this picture because I must give a blight to all those who come along with Habitat for Humanity in any one of our excursions. And again, this brings to the forefront what community does, what outreach does, what helping another individual does. And that, to me, is one of the best tools in developing your own personal resilience, where you find the opportunity to help another person. We might not be having beach cleanups any time at present in light of all social distancing that's happening, but it does bring to the forefront what community and doing these different outreach activities can help in developing your resilience. And this is the real reason I would say I strive to be even more resilient. It's because of him. This little one teaches me more than anything else. He is my son Musa, who has been a preemie, 7 weeks too early, delivered by section, and has taught me in his own ways. He does have a little bit of, he is diagnosed as autistic, and he has his own different abilities or extraordinary abilities. And he teaches me resilience as a mother and as a business person in the way he navigates this world. So I'm bringing you back to the start of the presentation. If I had a superpower, I've been able to share with you a little bit of what brings me my superpower. And the reason I want to share a little bit about myself is because to just bring to your consciousness that in any one of those stories, it could have been yourself too. I'm pretty certain each one of you have your own stories where you've had to overcome, where you've had to dig deep and really reach in. No more than ever is that time. So if you had a superpower, this is the superpower I would love for you to develop. Anyone heard of the word SISU before this presentation? I'm not going to see hands up, but you all can feel free to put it in the comments, right? In the chat box, feel free to share with me if you've heard the word SISU before. I didn't come up with the word. It is a Finnish word. It comes from their culture and is designed, the content of it is created by another doctor named Latti. It says the extraordinary determination, courage, and resoluteness in the face of extreme adversity. It is an action mindset which enables individuals to see beyond their present limitations and into what might be, taking action against all odds and reaching beyond the observed capacities. And as I shared, it is an integral element of the Finnish culture. However, it is a universal capacity which we all possess within. And that is a superpower I want more than ever for us to tap into. So while it is a word that cannot necessarily be translated into the English language, it has been almost translated into the word resilience. So SISU in their Finnish culture is equal to resilience. And what exactly is resilience? Familiar with this little character, Tigger? Am I bringing back any childhood memories? Any one of us here who are fans of Winnie the Pooh will constantly recall how Tigger was always your positive upbeat, no matter how dreaded the situation was. He was always Mr. Bounce Back. And more than ever, we need to inculcate this skill, this capacity, or flex, as they would say, that resilience muscle within. So where's this resilience muscle? Is it in our mind? Is it one of the biceps, triceps, quadriceps? It's within. It's intrinsic. And resilience itself is the process of adapting, emerging from adversity, trauma, tragedy, or any sort of significant stress without losing hope. More than ever, within this time, we need to hold on to hope. Hold on to any form of positivity and prayer to guide us through this particular storm. And this is what resilience is about. Now, some of you may or may not have heard about resilience, but have you heard about the concept called AQ? I wish I could see hands. I'm sure you've heard about EQ, which is emotional intelligence. There's a different intelligence, and that's called adaptability coefficient. So that's your adaptability intelligence. And this is where we need to be able to inculcate this now adaptability intelligence within us, or coefficient within us. There's been tons of resilience models and research developed for the past 10, 15 years. However, more than ever, these models need to be implemented within. So I ask you, how many of you think you have this AQ gene within you, or the adaptability intelligence? Or how do we develop it? So before we go into how do we develop it, let's highlight what stress is. Because in order to find a solution, we need to know what the problem is. And this particular definition, there are many, many, many definitions for stress. But I think this particular definition brings to forefront exactly where we're at. There's a host of demands being placed on us, and there's inadequate or an imbalance between the resources we may have and the coping skills we may have to deliver these results optimally. And while we're facing with COVID stress right now, I want us to bear in the back of our minds that stress itself will then put a physical and emotional hamper on our entire body. So while we're facing, and the hospitals are facing with COVID, the last thing I want is 1 month from now, 2 months from now, we all have the effects of stress that we have to cope with as well. It's documented that up to 88% of most of the presentations that we face within the ER, thankfully not now, is stress related, because stress can affect every single part of your body. But here's the thing about resilience. Here's the thing about coping. Identifying the stress, acknowledging the stress, and then empowering yourself with the skill to cope with the stress will automatically span it. Now, this is not a medicine 101, so we're not going to go into all the different organs and parts of the bodies that stress can affect, but it's just to, again, bring it into your consciousness. So getting to the meat of the matter. And again, I try to use a lot more childhood type of memories to evoke that part within you, because that's when I think we have been the most creative. As we get older, somehow our creativity gets shunned. Again, I refer to my little 8-year-old, and his creativity astounds me at times. He lives in his own world being autistic, but he is incredibly creative. So this little bucket and shovel is just to remind you a little bit of your creativity, sand and sea, and a little bit of how now we build resilience. So as I mentioned, there is a lot of research on resilience training. What did we try to do with resilience training? We tried to understand the general scope of the mental health problems. We tried to understand how we can prevent it, the etiology of it, and then try to evaluate the consequences of the threats to development, be it premature birth, traumas, or disasters. And in a lot of this research, researchers recognize that unexpected positive adaptations or recovery after adversity in the lives of young people they studied. And this is what's most significant. What a positive adaptation can do during your very adverse times. So these are some of the questions, and I can share it with all of the participants afterwards. One of the questionnaires that was taken in for developing parts of this resilience program, right? When given a new task, am I confident that I'll succeed? When one attempts and fails, I learn from it and change my approach next time. When a task doesn't go to plan, does it affect my self-belief? I have a few people at work who I can speak to about issues in the office. And this particular point here is important because it deals with the connection and who you can rely on. When I encounter a difficulty, I lose sight of my goal quickly. Sometimes I question my commitment to my job. I have strategies in place for dealing with my stress. I find it easy to ask my colleagues for help. I feel positive about the future. I worry about issues that I have no control over. Do I ask for assistance, or do I think it reveals weaknesses? When there's a fundamental change, I struggle to come around to new ways of thinking. I have strong goals that are clear in my mind. Am I able to discuss my job and its challenges with people outside of work, such as family members and close friends? I am more likely to say yes than no. And failures are hard to forget and successes are hard to remember. So this is just one of the questionnaires that was part of that research, resilience research. But it also, I think, would help everyone here in developing their own resilience strategy. So I'm just going to bring them back up onto the screen because I know some people just message or they want to take a picture, a snapshot of it, and it's not a problem. We will actually send it to you. This has helped a number of persons at the start of a program, a resilience program, and then it would be assessed later on. Now, yes, we're only doing a half-an-hour conversation here online. Resilience training program could be as long as 18 months or as short as 6 weeks. So there's a lot to be able to cover, and I'm going to condense it as much as possible for this half-an-hour time. But these particular questions just kind of frames what helps you to develop your resilience strategy, because it puts into perspective what you feel strongly about, what you agree on, and what you disagree on, right? So some of those questions brought forward the resiliency model. And all I'm going to ask you to look at is this particular part, which is where we are right now because of a lot of stress and adversity risk and lack of the protective factors. We are in a highly disruptive stage right now. Every single part of our lives is disruptive. We can no longer do simple tasks like jump into our cars, go to the grocery, jump in our cars, grab something to eat or drink, or even go checking on our relatives. Every single aspect is disrupted. For those who have small businesses, for those who have large businesses, they themselves will share how disruptive they feel. And we have to decide, are we going to be reintegrated to our comfort zone? How, first of all, are we going to be reintegrated? Are we going to be completely dysfunctional at the end of this? Or are we going to reintegrate with resiliency, right? So I want to bring back up the definition of resilience again, and is the process of adaptation. More than ever, you need to be able to flex, grow into your inner strengths. As we mentioned, that strength of resilience. Resilience is an integral part of us, but probably we have not been put into the situation to develop or flex that resilience muscle. So we have the resilience model that's been created. And what has been shared is that when individuals experience adversity, they also experience a number of protective factors. So these internal and external protective factors can buffer the effects of adversity. And some individuals have also experienced maladaptive patterns. And this is where we do not want persons to then risk to go into that loss of self-worth, or risking into maladaptive patterns of substance abuse or risky behaviors. And this is what we're seeing all across the world. Yesterday in the program on the radio program, we talked about some of the coping mechanisms that people are doing across the world and some of the situations. And there are persons who are unfortunately dwelling deep into depression, a host of anxiety. Some persons are not even sleeping well at night. Some persons are not sure where their next meal is coming from. So it is really disrupting us in every possible way. And more than ever is where we need to, like I said, look within, find that SISU strength, find what makes us adapting, find what makes us even stronger than just survive through this, but to survive through it. Bringing us to adversity can lead to a variety of outcomes. It can both be the external and internal factors. What we're doing here is very much a mix of external and internal factors, because I'm encouraging you to find that strength within. There are a host of external factors that are helping us. This is one of them, a little program on resiliency. I know YBCT is doing a number of other programs, and yes, I know our government is suggesting a number of relief programs. And we're going to have to rely on the power of community and that strength, even if as we develop our own resilience. So this, I hope, is a nice little way of remembering what is resilience. How we're developing our own coping strategies, understanding our sensibility around the problem, finding that grit within, and adding our increased emotional intelligence. So being able to analyze and manage all of these emotions very keenly, the grit, never giving up, being able to find that strength to tackle some of these problems. And just a little example here. I myself, this is probably about the third or fourth digital interaction I'm doing. I'm accustomed to speaking in front of massive audiences. I've spoken as much to a 10,000 audience. I've spoken to as little as 15 people in an organization. So speaking onto a screen where I'm absolutely not connected to persons is something completely new for myself. But I've had to adapt. I've had to find ways to cope around it. I'm a mom as well. I've had to adapt managing him. He's now at home. He has special needs. I've had to make sense out of all of this because I'm a leader in my organization, leader in other altruistic organizations, and give that support to our other healthcare professionals and professionals like yourself. And then, of course, develop my own coping skills because a lot more is being placed on my plate. And again, that's where I want to bring you to what SISU is, because that is tapping into your inner capacity. The same way you've tapped into this program, I want you to understand that you have bandwidth within you that you can tap into, you can expand, you can develop. This little equation, as you develop your grit, as you develop your coping skills, your sensibility, and the emotional intelligence, you then will realize how you develop your own personal resilience. I'm leaving this up for a little bit because someone messaged you want to take a picture. A lot of us may hear the word resilience and think it's difficult. It really isn't. We're gifted within it. And we ourselves can navigate through this. So I must leave you with a tool. We talked about finding that balance between the resources as we help to provide more resources, YBTT, and wherever you find additional resources, we also want to help provide a tool. So I'm going to ask you to be a little brave here with me. I don't know if any of our audience has done a mindfulness training or done a meditation session, but this is essentially a small, short practice to add to your armory of coping skills and help build resilience. I throw this picture up on the screen again. You that what we think about matters to the brain. And our brain, because we are in a crisis mode, will automatically think in protective mechanisms where we think of risk and we end up dwelling on the negative thoughts. So that's rumination. You're automatically going to be in that response mode. But I want to switch us, I want to switch us from reaction mode to response mode. And this is what mindfulness does. Because between the stimulus, which is all of this chaos and all of the adversity, there's a small gap where we decide, where we choose what that response is. And that difference between our reaction, which can be incredibly chaotic, or between the reaction is the response. That space there is mindfulness. And this little tool can be a powerful tool in your armory. There is a host of evidence-based medicine. One of it, a Harvard neuroscientist did an 8-week study, and he looked at how mindfulness affects the brain matter. And lo and behold, it improved gray matter surrounding areas of learning, memory, sense of self, and emotional regulation. So this is proven, this is tested. We may have a couple Debbie Downers on the chat here who may not want to indulge in a mindfulness practice. No problem. But I hope you can all be brave with me. I would love to engage you in a 2-minute mindfulness practice right now. We're going to turn all the screens up for those who want to share their screen. So here's what we're going to do. I want to encourage you to take a sit. It could be on the floor. It could be on your chair. I want you to hold your spine upright. Notice your body as you sit and feel your breath. We're going to be as kind as we can within the practice and observe our thoughts. So, are you all ready to start? We're going to give everyone about a couple minutes to start, to get ready. So Johnson, what were you saying? You want to encourage them to share their screens? Who would be brave with us to just share your screens?
Yeah, so if we could all just turn on our videos, so we could keep the microphones muted. We just want to turn on the videos so that we can do this exercise together. So yes, so I'm seeing some videos being turned on. Thank you guys. So, you know,
Stefan, hi Rachel.
If you're not comfortable turning on the video, that's all right. But for those of you who are, you know, feel free to turn it on. And also just a quick reminder, guys, to keep your questions coming on the chat so that we would address them during the Q&A sections. And Dr. Safeeya, so we could probably turn off the screen sharing for now. So
right, yes.
This, and then we could jump back to the screen share.
Great. So thank you to each one of you for trusting me as we embark on this new particular practice. Most practice involves closing your eyes. You can, however, choose, or you can maintain what we call a soft eyes, which means you become aware of your space. Don't focus on the picture in front of me, focus on your thoughts. Although you are aware of me on your screen, I just want you to be aware of the space you're in, paying attention to your posture. You can be seated firmly on a chair or on a mat, but I encourage grounding your feet onto a flat surface if you are indeed seated on a chair. So let's start this meditation. Start to observe your breath. Observe your breath. Don't manipulate it. Just notice it. Notice that even as you observe it, it starts to slow down. Your mind then starts to wander. Just become aware of it. Become aware of the thoughts that are brought forward to your mind. Don't try to fight it. Let it wander. But bring into focus your breathing as it goes in through your nostrils and then out through your nostrils. So we're going to do something a little more interesting. While you keep your eyes relaxed, be it open or closed, quietly, I want you to say your full name. So I am Safeeya Mohammed. You say your name and repeat this 3 times. I am. Your thoughts will wander, and as they do, invite all the stresses you have right now, all the things you have to do, your deadlines, the financial bills, the problems. Invite them into your consciousness. Let your awareness fill up with them. In acknowledging your fears and your anxieties and in letting them in, one is better able to process them. We're moving into dropping now your last name and just repeating, I am your first name. I am Safeeya. Repeat it 3 times, and this time invite experiences from your childhood into your awareness. When you were less than 5, experiences with your parents, with your siblings, with your classmates. Happy moments, curious moments, blowing bubbles, swinging, splash of water in the sea. Stay in that happy, exuberant moment. Now drop your first name and just say, I am, without the labels attached. I am the memories, the exuberance, the positivity. I am not the anxieties or fears. And as you breathe in the exuberance, breathe out your fears. Let those thoughts fade away. Just I am. Now, replace I am with one word. Om or be, aham. Any word without an association. And focus on your breath into your nostrils and out. Quietly being aware of just being aware. This is what we call ground state. Before thought arises, before feeling, when we're really in infinite potential rest. In rest, in awareness, just be. Be aware of your ground state. Be aware of your breath. And be grateful for breath. As we come out of this meditation, feel all of the sensations in your body. Feel the calm within and welcome the calm. Breathe out the chaos. Anyone has a pulse ox so they could check their heartbeat right now? As I hope you're feeling a little bit more refreshed. At the end of this, I want to remind you that you can use this same exact technique to achieve that calm anywhere you are. More than ever, we need to achieve that calm. We did mention a little bit about stress, and I mentioned about my little son named Musa. So I like to always connect to the 10 Commandments. And these are the 10 Commandments for managing your own personal stress and creating your resilience. Thou shalt not expect someone else to reduce your stress. Thou shalt not resist change. Thou shalt continue to learn. Thou shalt not work alone. Thou shalt not work harder, but work smarter. Thou shalt seek to find joy and mastery in thy work and life. Thou shalt not guilt or blame oneself or others. Thou shalt not take thyself in vain. Remember what is holy to yourself and honor your limits. If you remember nothing else from the entire presentation, remember these commandments for building resilience and managing your personal stress. I end with this particular quote from John Maxwell. The measure of a leader is not in the number of people who serve him, but in the number of people he serves. So thank you for giving me the opportunity of serving you all today. Those who would like to contact myself, it is at sisuglobalwellness@gmail.com or 380-SISU, where the trust of it is to create your SISU. And I want to encourage you all to jump onto the SISU Global Wellness Facebook page and share with me, hashtag, or even your own page, how are you creating your own SISU? I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Safeeya. That was indeed a great session. I enjoyed that mindfulness exercise. I cannot for the life of me remember when last I did anything like that. It was really refreshing. So moving on to the Q&A.
Yes.
We have a question here from Rachel. The question is,
right.
You saw it?
So Rachel, hi. Thank you so much for your question. I feel that overwhelm as well. You have to understand your factors that you can control and the ones that you cannot control. So you have Crohn's disease, which means you're already immunologically compromised. I left my number at the end there. So if it is you want to contact me and we can continue on consultation, that's not a problem. But my biggest advice, my tip here in terms of controlling the stress is understanding you have that power to manage your stress, because it will only get worse. It is almost like a negative vicious cycle. Stress is something that is an external factor. How we respond to it is our intrinsic being, as we were sharing in the whole what mindfulness can achieve. You're already immunocompromised, so you're probably already accustomed to being in a hospital environment, and you're probably even more concerned about what would happen if you get COVID, on top of all your exam situations and being able to have to submit different things. So be strategic in your patterns, be strategic in your goals. Identify, first of all, with respect to your college work, if it is when you have your submissions. I'm certain all examiners right now are being more lenient on submissions. I'm familiar with a couple UE lecturers who are being incredibly lenient on submissions. Understand that the more stress you put or is put on your system, it will only worsen your immunological system, right? I'll share my number with you again at the end so you can contact me directly.
All right, thank you. Right, so we have another question here. Are there any quick exercises that people could do to help control high stress situations?
Right, so yes, any exercise is going to help you control a high stress situation. That particular mindfulness session that we just did is one of the most powerful. You can jump online and grab any mindfulness exercise from YouTube. I like to follow Gayam. I like to follow Deepak Chopra. There's an app on your phone, app you can download called Calm, right? One of those exercises can bring in controlling stress. Understand resilience is flexing resilience muscle in the mind versus the rest of the physical body. And more importantly, it is how we control our thoughts. Go back into that rumination picture that I had in one of the presentation, one of the slides on the presentation, and understand you have that power to negate each negative thought as they build one onto each other. Other exercises that a lot of people I see are indeed doing, because they're confined out to homes, they are using their steps, their weights, skipping even. Anything that will, again, bring you into shifted awareness will shift your stress levels. Anyone else who wants to continue on doing resilience training or mindfulness sessions or just work-life balance, because now more than ever we have a host of work-life issues being at home. Anyone here on the chat is a work at home mom and having concerns? Feel free to jump on and let us know what you think.
So you all can utilize the chat and feel free to drop your responses, drop your questions.
Look, we have Shadron here, so I'll probably ask a question while the others brainstorming. Right.
Yes.
So we spoke a lot about managing your own stresses, right? A lot in the webinar. How would you, or what advice would you have for someone trying to, I guess, hold the family together, right? Because a lot of us are home, and sometimes you're seen as a source of strength within the family. But even if you have a team at work, you're seen as a source of strength, and you're going through the stresses, but you kind of have to swallow, I guess, your stresses to make sure that the others don't feel as stressed sometimes. What advice you have here?
So this is going to sound a little controversial. I believe more than ever, we've been within our culture, especially male, are asked to, as you said, swallow the stresses. In swallowing the stresses, we don't acknowledge them. And we are just as human. Males and doctors and superheroes. Actually, I'm not a fan of superhero status. are humans. And in not acknowledging the stress, you are then putting further harm on your body. Acknowledging the stress is a big way of, a big step, first of all, in dealing with it, especially the providers. All of the males within the groups, or even some females are providers, acknowledging that this is, first of all, challenging. And then the next step is being able to find who you can indeed lean in on. Is it that you need to have a conversation with a financial advisor? Is it that you have to have a conversation with a mental health professional, or just a counselor or a coach? And it's okay to move yourself to the step of accepting advice, leaning in. Within our, I can give a lot of examples within our medical fraternity. We've had a number of male doctors who are the providers who've then had to be isolated because they're working in the hospital systems and are no anywhere close to their families. How are they dealing with that? And we've been providing a lot of support and social services to them. Is they've had to, we've done a number of different group sessions, and just being able to communicate and chat about it. Acknowledging the stress is one of the biggest things. This is not an easy situation. It is okay to seek help for that stress. It is okay to find healthy solutions. There are a number of exercise groups that are now doing online. There are a number of financial advisors that are creating financial forums to give that kind of guidance and benefit. And I hope YBTT does something along those lines as well, where you can provide some sort of financial advice to some of the participants here as well, because that's where the number one stress is. Our bottom lines have all been affected, right? I see here, how do you, another question just popped up, how do you deal with the fear of getting COVID? My dear Rachel, I am in that fear every single moment. And for us, the ones who work in the hospital, in frontline, every single moment. I walk in faith. I walk in the power that I have dealt with things before and that I will overcome it. I walk in preparedness. I think that is probably our biggest armory, in preparing ourselves. So if it is you think you may get COVID-19, what medications you need to have at home, what systems you need to put in place to isolate or quarantine your family, how are you then going to provide to them financially? Or worst case scenario, as much as we absolutely do not like to think worst case, in thinking through worst case, we then realize all the different risks and how we can mitigate against it. I have forced certain organizations to write down the absolute worst case scenario and come up with a solution and then work backwards. And that has seemed quite positive in that once they realized and verbalized all of the worst case scenarios and then realized they were creating strategies and solutions to the worst case scenarios, then they felt better about coping with it. How do I calm myself? Meditation, a host of mindfulness practices, being a lot more creative with just coloring, doing a few gardening with my son, and engaging in new things. In engaging in new experiences, you then encourage your brain to rewire differently and not over-ruminate or over-focus on the stresses. A next question that just popped up there, Denise, how would you deal with the stress of our jobs when working at home and the social distancing is limiting our production to meet quota? So work at home is a whole new paradigm. I am pretty certain most of the organizations have an HR component or an EAP support system. If they don't, again, message me. I can help put that into place for your organization. And within that EAP, you can then explain or help share those, I wouldn't say limitations. It's again, adapting. Many persons now are unable to meet their quotas, especially in sales. It's now completely different to meet clients. How are you meeting clients? So the whole paradigm is changing. So I'm familiar with a number of HR another HR employees and professionals, and they're all putting new systems in place if they haven't already, in terms of helping their own employees meet different quotas. But first of all, it's overcoming that barrier, understanding that stress is one you can either hold responsibility to or allow it to overwhelm you. I myself have my own financial stresses. All of my trainings have been cancelled and I have to learn digital. And it is exciting to learn digital. Reframe your mind as much as you can in how you are to deliver now. For this year, I had 4 trips prepared. One was to go as far as to present at a global summit in Tehran, and one was to present across in Miami. One was to present in Finland, where the word SISU originates from. And all of them have been cancelled. No one knows what's going to happen. So all of that uncertainty creates stress. Manage what you can deal with. Start to prioritize where you can. I have started assigning things priority A, B, and C. And unless they hit A, B, and C, that is the order they get dealt with. So some things get priority A, some things get priority B. So let me give an example. Right now, everyone in front of me here is priority A. Thankfully, my son is calm and comfortable, doing a little bit of creative coloring, so he's priority B. But if he was to run across and then tell me some things that matter, he then shifts and becomes priority A. So you have to adjust what is your emergency. When I'm in the hospital, that's priority A. And if something happens with my son at that point in time, he is not priority A because I'm in the hospital with patients. So you have to adjust and create your strategy. I like the priority A, B, C because it helps me navigate. I'm going back through the questions and see if I missed anyone in particular.
Yeah, we actually we missed a couple. So
okay.
So one of the questions we got from Denise is, as a financial advisor, we need to produce still. It is very challenging. What would be your advice for a new advisor whose client base is not as large as someone who's been in the business for years?
So this is where, yes, we are socially isolated. Sorry, yes, we are subscribing to social distancing, but we're not socially isolated. Here's where you did the right step. You joined onto this group. YBTG has a huge network. I'm sure some of us here have also huge networks. This is where you tap into your social networks. You start to create different strategies. Yes, you would be accustomed to going out there and meeting clients. You may not have the confidence to navigate the digital forum. This is where you're going to have to re-strategize and create new solutions. Don't expect that these solutions are going to come right away. Don't put that much of a burden onto yourself. I know we're all trying to meet quotas, trying to meet different deadlines. Some will just, accepting that some are simply not going to be met, removes that overwhelming stress on yourself. Also accepting you are absolutely not the only one. There are huge organizations fearing that they may hit closure in the next month or two, fearing they now have to downsize their staff, and what's going to happen with their staff. So it is on a micro level, it's on a macro level. You are absolutely not alone, Denise, as a financial advisor. Every single one is facing that challenge. Sit, chat with more persons on your social networks, and come up with strategies. Tap into different networks.
All right, great. And we have another question here from Rihanna. I am a business owner with a home-based business. My question is, would the exercise you just used work for all ages?
all ages. Again, my 8-year-old does mindfulness as well. One thing I didn't mention is that he gets seizures. And one day before a seizure, I've taught him how to cope with these seizures. Just before, he now knows how to bring himself into a mindfulness session before when he starts to get the auras. These particular exercises works for any ages. It could be as old as 70s, 80s. It could be our age here generally. It could be your own children. There is resilience training and mindfulness training for any age. And again, those are resources I can provide you with thereafter.
Great. And so we have we're getting a lot of questions, and it's really nice actually. So what do you suggest? This is from Pearl. What do you suggest I can do to cope with the calls where people are asking me for help? I am usually a go-to person, but cannot help them now.
Well, I hear you on that. As you would have seen as well from the list of different hats I wear, I'm just as well overwhelmed with those amount of calls. This is where I think that authenticity comes in, and acknowledging, here's what. I can help this person, I can help X amount of persons, and this is as much as my quota is. This is what my capacity is. Understanding what your capacity is. I'm sure at the end of the 10 Commandments, one of the lines I said, honoring your limits. Someone had to tell me, Dr. Saf, you are not Jesus. You cannot fix all the problems. I see problems all around me, and I'm constantly in a solution-based position. I'm sure that probably is yourself as well. And you're always wanting to help. As soon as you realize you simply cannot help everyone, and that's okay. Help who you can help. Empower people to help others. That's the quickest way that you can feel that sense of, that sense of gratitude and that sense of completeness. Help who you can and empower who you can't help. There are tons of different resources I see sharing on social media, all the different lists of places that are helping others feel, different CSOs, different NGOs. So tap into those and refer the people who you cannot help to refer into those groups that are providing other assistance.
Wonderful. So we have one last question here. If anyone will probably just take 1 or 2 questions again, because we're about to wrap up. So this last question so far here is from Rachel. It says, how do you cope with anxiety because of COVID-19? I always get anxious when I always have to go to the hospital to get meds or go for errands.
Right. So should I hear you? There seems to be a host of anxieties associated to all of your patterns in terms of you having to go into the hospital, you're fearing that risk. If it is, you can navigate someone else to go to the hospital who doesn't have that high risk as yourself, or even if it means relying on a friend, a family member, or even I know some pharmacies are indeed doing WhatsApp and doing deliveries. So there are a host of solutions out there. I've seen a couple organizations doing delivery of medications. It might have an extra charge to it. Some of them are waiving those charges. But I think my best solution to you would be see if you can navigate or get someone to help get those medications for you to deliver to you, because every time you put yourself at risk to go to the hospital would further worsen your anxieties.
All right, great. Okay, so that was the last of the questions there.
Yeah, I think we did all of the questions, did we?
Yeah, I don't think we missed any. So so that was.
So we're gonna wrap up. I want to thank every single one of the participants here: Alana, Amaniz, Anissa, Camille, Christine, Crystal, Denise, whoever is Galaxy J2 Pro, Kimberly, Keston, Maria, Mark. I'm trying to call out just about every name here. Mel, Michael. I hope it's Michael Edwards that I'm familiar with. Hi, Michael. Navila, beautiful name. Pearl, thank you for your question. questions, Rachel, Renisa, Rihanna, Samantha, Shivani, Stefan, Teresa, Tessa, Twain, V, and Vinisha. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope this was beneficial. I hope you learned one thing. Shadron and Jonathan, I think we can liaise for who would want a presentation afterwards if they want 1 or 2 slides, that particular one with the 10 commandments or the resilience equation. Shadron, do you have any additional comments coming into the end?
Switch to spotlight, Jonathan. All right, so I mean, folks, thank you for joining us. We all have our coping mechanisms. For me, it's my hat. So for all video calls, I tend to wear my hat. It gives me a feeling of going somewhere, especially when you're trapped sometimes in self-isolation. I mean, I want to thank you again, Doc. So the mindfulness exercise was great. I see a lot of persons paying on their videos from time to time. Who knows, we might just have a total mindfulness together session and we can just go through these steps. Right? Yes. So one of the things that we're doing at YBTT, so in previous times we had one-on-one mentorship where we have experienced business mentors partnering with young entrepreneurs, just to kind of give them that one-on-one direction for their business and support. Right? So we've recently started what we call mentor support groups. And right now it's a call for persons to either be a mentor in those groups or be an entrepreneur. All right. So the support groups are usually 5 entrepreneurs, 2 persons as mentors, and you're not just there to get feedback and support from mentors, but you're also there to get feedback from peer-to-peer support as well. So you can reach out to us if you're on Facebook. Reach out to us on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, you can email us at info@ybtt.org, or you can email mentorship@ybtt.org, or you can email Jonathan at training@ybtt.org. So much. I guess if you probably just type something at ybtt.org, you might get one of us. Right? So that might be a good option. We would take a couple of the slides, Doctor, as you said, and send it out to everyone in terms of the different things that you can start working on as you work on yourself, but even encourage your family members to get in it with you and encourage it from there. So with that, I don't know, Jonathan, if you have anything else to say at the ending from here, but I would remind you all that we always have our webinars on Wednesdays, 12 p.m. Once you register for one webinar, you get all the information of the upcoming webinars. So those who registered and those who are participating on this webinar here, you'll get the information on the next webinar coming directly at your email. So make sure you give us the correct email address, right? And we'll send it directly to you. So that's it for me. Thank you again, folks.
So bid you all peace. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks again, Dr. Safeeya. So as Shadron said, look out on your emails. We'll send them out, and be sure to visit our website. You know, we always post the webinars and so on there. So feel free to check us out, and looking forward to see you again next week at the same time. All right, thanks a lot, guys, and take care.